Welcome to this exciting show, After the First Cry. This is a show about the cycle of life. It will give you insight into both medical and non-medical subjects concerning your life. Today, we kick off the show with the first episode of the season, The First Cry. And I am your host, Abigail Birech. Childbirth is perhaps the oldest and most celebrated event as it marks the beginning of life. It takes blood, sweat and tears, yet it brings the mother untold satisfaction and joy. This is especially true when the newborn comes out bouncing with health. In today's show, we will have the privilege of learning all about it and share fun facts related to this landmark event in one's life. Let us take a journey together to find out what actually happens during birth. You will catch a glimpse of what takes place in the delivery room and in the first few moments after the baby is born.
Labor begins with the onset of painful, regular contractions and dilatation of the cervix. Labor is divided into 3 phases.
The first stage is the time between the onset of labor and the full dilatation of the cervix. It is usually the longest and very tiring. Taking light drinks like tea and walking around usually makes it a little better. Massaging the lower back also helps a great deal. The second stage is the period between the full dilatation of the cervix and the birth of the baby. Before the baby comes out, the mother usually feels like she needs to go to the toilet so badly. This is because the descending baby presses on the nerves that usually cause one to go for a long call. The midwife will constantly assess the progress and direct the mother in pushing and panting to minimize tearing.
Nafanya vizuri, mami.
A cut is sometimes made at the opening of the birth canal. This is done to avoid excessive tearing of the perineum and when the baby seems to need a little more room to be born.
Of course, this cut will be stitched.
But once that is given and the baby has passed, it is usually repaired. It is stitched back to its size or its position such that normal healing takes place, and within 6 weeks the scar is healed.
As the baby descends the birth canal, its head may become more elongated. This change of shape is called molding and is necessary in order to ease passage through a small space. This is especially prominent for first-time mothers. Once the baby's head is born, the rest of the body usually slides out. After birth, labor enters the third stage. This will be until the placenta is delivered. The mother has the option of waiting out for the placenta to be born naturally or to have an injection, which will cause contraction of the uterus, and then the placenta will detach. Putting the baby to the breast usually makes this faster. The duration of labor varies widely, lasting about 10 hours on average. For first-time mothers though, it might be longer and shorter for those who have given birth before.
Every dilatation of the cervix represents an hour, from 1 centimeter to 10 centimeters. In labor which has no complication, it's a direct labor. After 10 hours, the mother is expected to deliver, and the dilatation is supposed to progress smoothly. Especially for mothers who are delivering for either the 3rd, 4th or more times. It takes approximately 10 to 12 hours. But the mothers who are delivering for the first time, labor can take a long duration. Can even take up to 16 hours.
However, during childbirth, things do not always go as expected. For instance, Our mother went through the harrowing experience of labor only to land on the operating table. This brings up a very critical question. What can go wrong?
If you are passed through the expected time of delivery or duration of delivery, then an intervention has to be made. On the process of monitoring labor, the cervix become fully dilated, and once the cervix is fully dilated, we anticipate spontaneous vertex delivery. That's the normal delivery. But for her, that was not possible because her pelvis was a bit contracted and the baby looked to be bigger. We usually opt for emergency cesarean sections, though there are other modes like vacuum extractions and use of forceps, but those are not in common practice.
Before any operation, strict infection prevention by surgical hand washing is done. This is critical in order to prevent spread of infection to the patient. All sterile team members perform the hand and arm scrub before entering the surgical suite.